Brought to you by DK Audio.
DK Audio presents The Hidden Heroes of Science by Peter Gallivan, read by Louis Hill. What is science? Before we start meeting some scientists, it's important to understand what exactly a scientist is. Even though they all do very different things, from looking at distant planets to looking for new animals in the jungle, there are still things scientists all have in common. Questioning things. Scientists come up with ideas to explain why things are the way they are. They look at the world in detail and suggest explanations for why it could be that way. Experimenting. To really understand if their ideas are correct, scientists do experiments. They measure things in detail, make changes, and see if their ideas hold up. Solving problems. Many scientists work to help make the world a better place. This might be by finding new medicines to treat diseases, or by helping to protect animals which are going extinct. The first scientist. It's hard to really say exactly who the first scientist was. In fact, you could say that the very first humans to walk the earth over 100,000 years ago were scientists. They explored their environment, made tools and equipment to make their lives easier, and generally tried to make sense of planet Earth and the vastness of the universe above them. We only really know if people in the past were doing science if they left behind evidence. Although we have found amazing cave paintings made by these long-distant early human ancestors, we need to go a little further forward in time to meet our first scientists. Imhotep, 2667 BCE to 2648 BCE. The first scientist in this book lived in ancient Egypt, a civilization which started around 5,000 years ago. While you might think it is impossible to know anything about people who lived so long ago, the Egyptians had a secret weapon up their sleeves: writing. Writing it down. At the time of the ancient Egyptians, writing things down had only been around for a few hundred years, so only a few people could read and write. But these scribes wrote down almost everything which happened in society, giving us an amazingly detailed picture of life in ancient Egypt. Some scribes were in charge of the market, recording money and food changing hands. Others were in charge of armies, making sure they had enough supplies to fight. Towering achievements. Perhaps the greatest scribe who lived was a man called Imhotep. Due to his talent with numbers, Imhotep was in charge of designing and constructing buildings for the ruling king, Djoser. Today, we call someone who designs a building an architect, and this job involves a lot of science. They need to understand how different materials can be used in a building to make sure it will be strong and not collapse when they've finished. The largest buildings in ancient Egypt were burial tombs for the kings. Because Imhotep excelled at designing buildings, he was promoted to chief architect and tasked with the biggest job of his life: designing a lavish tomb for the king, taller and more memorable than all others before it. Fun fact: Imhotep was also one of the first doctors in the world. He realized that illness was just a natural part of life and not caused by a curse from ancient gods. Building tool. At the time, most burial tombs were low, blocky buildings. By stacking up 6 of these on top of each other, each smaller than the last, Imhotep created a tall but stable building. He used blocks of stone instead of bricks made from mud to create a long-lasting building. And he was certainly right. The first pyramid he built reached an amazing 61 meters, 200 feet tall, and still
Sample complete. Ready to continue?